In a time when Donald Trump is attacking so many different groups of Americans, can any major media outlet completely avoid talking about politics? Well, so far, ESPN's done a pretty good job of it under Donald Trump, but not all of its hosts want it to continue that way. Take a look at what Dan Batard said earlier today.
What you're seeing happening around here is about race, and it's been turned into politics. And we only talk about it around here when Steve Kerr Popovich says something. We don't talk about what is happening unless there's some sort of weak, cowardly sports angle that we can run it through, when sports has always been a place where this stuff changes. Man, Muhammad Ali was fighting for this stuff in the 60s. The Bill Russell and Jim Brown are really old. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is old. These people who were fighting, the most powerful among us in sports, who are fighting in the civil rights era for things, atrocities happening to black people that we're still paying for now in a country where this is our greatest sin. What has happened to minorities in this country? They're old and dying. Jim Brown walks with a cane, man. He walks with a cane. He's going to go to the grave without having seen change. He's going to go to the grave with Colin Kaepernick still out of the league, literally blackballed.
Okay, so I want to make a lot of commentary on Dan Le Batard's great points here, and we've got more of his video for you. But first, fun points. How awkward was that camera shot on that guy? Until he was like, I can't take it anymore. I'm just gonna walk out.
I'm good.
Why are you still taking my shot when this guy is making a poignant political point and I can't stand to be here anymore? It made me feel good about the amateurs because sometimes we'll stay an extra half a second on one of the hosts. Well, we don't stay an extra 45 seconds on the host, and that's ESPN, right? Well, on the wrong guy. I love that.
They reached out to the director and asked, why did you let that shot continue for so long? And he said, I shut it down very fast. Very fast.
Oh, wow.
The director, apparently Donald Trump.
Yeah.
And then I have a wonderful personal story about Dan Le Batard. I just ran into him in Miami. You guys will love it. It has nothing to do with this story, so I'll save it to the end. All right, back to you, John.
Okay, so you want to go to more of his video?
Yeah, because I think he's made some wonderful points. Let's hear them all and then talk about why he's so right.
Exactly. I mean, he's making great points about what's going on, but he also ties it in with the sometimes stated but often silent policy to ESPN to not get into these sorts of materials, as you'll see.
This is deeply offensive to me as somebody whose parents made all the sacrifices to get to this country. Send her back. How are you any more American than her? You're more privileged, you're whiter, you're richer. People don't know whether your money's real or not. You've had every privilege afforded to you by America, every privilege. And now what you do with that power is you go after brown people and black people and minorities. And around here, we won't talk about it. We won't talk about it unless Russell Wilson is saying something about it on his Instagram page. Then we have the power to run with it. Weak ass shield.
That's strong.
Okay, yeah, it's super strong. Again, though, with the camera shots. If you notice, the guy who left his seat because he couldn't take it anymore, they got him. He sits down at a new place, and they got him from the side angle. Still not showing Le Batard. Look, it's a tiny, funny point. Let's move on to the major stuff. Look, what first thing Le Batard said was about sports history. $1,000,000%, $1,000,000% right. The 1968 Olympics, where they obviously raised their hands with the black gloves. We've covered that story 1,000 times. Muhammad Ali not going to Vietnam, going to prison over it. And Jim Brown, and he went over some of those weeks ago. I agree with him. It is amazing that it is the year 2019, and they're still blackballing athletes like Colin Kaepernick for speaking out. And it's always speaking out on behalf of justice. That is a thing that people cannot tolerate. They will not have it. And so, and it's, when's the last time someone got blackballed because they were too right wing?
Yeah, exactly.
In sports, I literally don't know any time that has ever happened to a right winger. And what a left winger is not doing is, it's not like, hey, he was left wing, but he was really militant. No, Kaepernick talked to guys who are in the military, decided the most respectful way to protest police shooting unarmed black men was to take a knee during the anthem. Like, it cannot be more civil, it cannot be more constitutionally protected, freedom of speech, et cetera, and still they're blackballing people over it. He won a lawsuit over it. It's absolutely definitive that they did that. And now ESPN's like, shh, And why? All because of right-wing intimidation. Because God, they cry and cry and cry. No one cries like a right-winger. So the minute you say, oh, yeah, my beloved Donald Trump, have a good day. Oh, I'm not gonna watch it. And it's not true, they always watch. The ratings never go down. The Nike's stock went up by $6 billion after they supported Kaepernick. Yep. People keep buying, so he's 1,000% right. Yes, I said 1,000,000 and 1,000%. Okay, neither one of those is real.
Add them together.
No, I think Le Batard made some excellent points, and he's absolutely right in terms of athletes speaking out, but also his concern of not being able to speak out unless it's somehow intersected with an athlete. And that becomes problematic because essentially what ESPN is doing is asking its hosts who speak on a daily basis about a variety of topics to limit their intersectionality, to limit the issues that impact them and their communities or the issues that they care about. And you can't divorce yourself from racial issues if you're a black woman, or from issues that impact your community. And so to be silenced on that end is extremely problematic, and Le Batard was in the right for calling it out.
Yeah, and by the way, sorry, John, one quick thing about sports fans, because you brought that up. If anyone knows it's okay to be on one side and not the other, it's sports fans. So they don't respect you more if you're like, well, I like the Cowboys and the Steelers just the same. Right? No, right? They get it. You're on one side, I'm on the other side. That's when we go to war and we figure out who wins, right? Yeah. And so there's a guy named Matt Jones in Kentucky, populist guy, very progressive, does a progressive show out of Kentucky and doesn't hide a sports show, doesn't hide it at all. And he's for Kentucky, University of Kentucky, and he's against Louisville. If you're a sports fan, and so what Mitch McConnell does is he's like, I like them both. I'll get them, right? Everybody knows. So it's like actually the worst place to try to pretend you're for everybody is in sports because no actual fan will buy it.
Yeah, it's the analogy I'm gonna make to your earlier point about what you can get away with and not get blackballed is not gonna be sports related because I don't have those. But Mel Gibson's getting movies now.
Yeah.
Richard Spencer was on CNN this week. Yeah. I can't get on CNN. They put a Nazi on CNN. That's how this country works. They will allow anything as long as you're right wing. Now, to catch you up from that broadcast, ESPN spent today telling employees that its no politics policy is still in place even after the show that we just showed you. ESPN officials were spreading the word through the media Friday that nothing has changed in terms of policy, in which it only wants its commentators to delve into politics when it intersects with sports, which I have to assume means that they didn't listen to anything he said because the entire point he was making was that it naturally and necessarily intersects with sports. And so I also wanted to talk about some of the history of this because I've been doing some research after having Ricky Strom of TYT Sports on the Damage Report earlier today to talk about this. So this is apparently a somewhat new policy because under Pataro's predecessor, the current head, John Skipper, ESPN had at times been more political. And during the Trump administration, that sometimes made the network a target of criticism. In 2017, former ESPN Sports Center anchor Jemele Hill criticized Trump on Twitter. She was suspended for the controversy and has since left the network. The tweet that she was apparently suspended for was that Donald Trump is a white supremacist who has largely surrounded himself with other white supremacists, which has only been proven true 1,000 times over since then. But she also has tweeted a bit in response to what we just saw, saying ESPN isn't a political network, but to me and Dan, racism isn't political, it is right and wrong. Silence or tolerance of racism is racist because that means on some level you're okay with other people being dehumanized. She says, I do not blame ESPN for its approach because their primary function is to serve fans and make money, but some things are just bigger than that.
Yep, no, she's absolutely right.
Yeah.
Without question, she's insanely right on that point. And kind of just to clarify, because the reality is in the optics of how it really actually went down is that's right. She did tweet about the president being racist. The thing is in the aftermath, a lot of people came to her defense and she was rallied and protected by a lot of celebrities and high profile people. So ESPN could not necessarily suspend her without facing considerable backlash. So what they did was wait until she tweeted something mundane about the Dallas Cowboys and boycott, not even advancing a boycott. And then ESPN decided to read into that tweet and go ahead and say we're suspending her for that tweet.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things where it's all about optics, but we know the reality of the situation. And she is right in that there are things much bigger than sports, and they are sexism, racism, and the things that impact individuals of marginalized communities that go on everywhere at every company all the time.
Yeah, so let me address a couple of those things. So I know what right wingers are thinking. Oh God, now you're gonna fire everybody for being racist.
Yeah.
Or Now you say that they can talk about racism and call people racist when they're racist. Outrageous, right? But guys, even you have to recognize there has to be some line, right? So if Trump were to say, you know what, maybe we start putting the Jews in the camps. Would anyone say, hey, no, ESPN shouldn't talk about it? It's not about sports. It's not about sports, and if it doesn't matter if you're a Jewish host or you're not a Jewish host, doesn't matter. You got to stay out of it, etc. Some of you might think that, but I think overwhelming majority of people would say, no, that's okay. You should be allowed to talk about that. So the question is, where's the line? And so that's what Batard is kind of pushing here by being very aggressive. I mean, saying that it's a weak ass shield to only do it if it comes up in the case of sports. You saying they're using the sports figures as meat shields, calling it cowardly several times. Now, second reason why it's important that he's doing it is because he is one of their most successful hosts. And so you need someone with more leverage and power to be able to do it, because if you're a reporter in the field and you don't have as much leverage and you don't have ratings that rely on your personality, well, they'll fire you and that won't be hard at all. When Dan does it, then it presents a question, so what's ESPN gonna do? They say, oh no, it's still in place. Well, what are you gonna do about one of your top guys who just clearly, obviously violated that policy and called you out on it? I don't know, right? That's why it's important for powerful people to step up, not just grassroots folks. So I want to commend him twice over for that. Even though now I get to the funny, relevant story. So we're there for the Miami debate a couple of weeks ago. I run into him, and I had known him like ever so briefly when I worked in Miami, when Ben and I worked at Whammy. And I said, hey Dan, it's Cenk Uygur from the Young Turks. And he's like, what? And I'm like, well, I used to work at Whammy and you used to come in and with Ben Mankiewicz, and he's like, what? So, my God, no one has remembered me less in American history.
Oh, wow. It's a great story, though. It really is. That'll keep you humble. Yes, it will.
Definitely. And what I like too was that
I like that you threw Ben under the bus there too.
Yeah, I know, right? And I might have even said, oh, now he's the host of Turner Classic Movies, because obviously Dan doesn't recognize Young Turk, doesn't know it at all, right? So I'm like, Turner Classic Movies, maybe that triggers something. He's like, no. And I was like, okay, I'm done. But what I like is that
you were my roommate for a couple of months.
You're at my wedding. Come on, man.
But in both instances, over the top honesty.
That's true.
Because a lot of people would have been like, oh yeah, I remember that, right?
Yeah.
Not with Dan. No, he's like, no, I definitely do not remember you.
Yeah.
Or anything about you.
The only other thing I want to say is that the sort of policy that they have at ESPN, it just feels like the same thing that we see everywhere. We're like, okay, at ESPN you can't talk about politics. At CNN, MSNBC, you have to be very careful about how you talk about politics. Don't challenge certain people, don't use certain words. Is something racist? We'll leave it to other people. Don't have primaries, like these sorts of things where it's like, let's just keep everything calm and everything civil and balanced and neutral. And all of that is BS. All of that just means that the people who have power right now will benefit because nobody gets to challenge them. It's just cowardice that allows the people who currently have the advantage to continue to have the advantage in all cases.
Wonderful point. That's
Absolutely
exactly
correct.
right. Yep. The TYT Plus app is now available on iOS and Android. Download to get more TYT content at tyt.com/app.